What's scarier, your nightmares, your notifications, or horror-loving Jesuit priests? Welcome back to The Final Cut, your daily post in horror, where we sift through the nightmarish, the nostalgic, and the downright bizarre to bring you everything you need to know from the genre world. I'm your host, Travis, coming to you with today's trio of stories that span the supernatural, the spiritual, and the soothing. Let's get into it. Spotted doom scrolling again? Kiernan Shipka's got a horror PSA for that. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Starr headlines a new Halloween campaign from sleep wellness brand Hatch. The Fox trailer, titled Goodnight Phone, was directed by Meredith Alloway and will play in select AMC and Cinemark theaters this spooky season. The plot follows Ava, who moves into a new home and can't seem to stop scrolling late into the night until her digital demons begin to manifest. Her partner, on the other hand, sleeps peacefully thanks to his Hatch Restore 3, a real phone-free sleep device. Co-starring Jacob Lumet Cannonball, the short blends horror satire with lifestyle branding, and Shipka says she loved the concept, adding, "I'm totally guilty of doom scrolling, but I'm a worse version of myself the next day." Goodnight Phone is both a cheeky seasonal ad and a pointed commentary on tech addiction, presented with enough horror aesthetics to earn a place in October's conversation. My question for you guys is, would you want more fake horror trailers like this shown in theaters during October? Let us know your answers in the comments ahead. You've heard of priests banishing demons? How about recommending them? Reverend Ryan Duns, a Jesuit priest and theological professor at Marquette, just dropped his personal list of top horror films to watch this Halloween, and it's divine. He says his love of horror started in childhood and has since evolved into both a spiritual study and a form of artistic appreciation. Here's his top 5. Hereditary, for how it questions inheritance as a curse. Oddity, a modern twist on the Gollum myth and hubris. The Black Phone, a dual-layered tale of trauma and supernatural justice. The Thing, for its paranoia and questions of trust in the unknown. The Witch, because who can resist a talking goat? Father Dunn says that cheap thrills and gore don't cut it. He's looking for atmosphere, spiritual tension, and a synthesis of terror and horror. He even admits to turning off more films than he finishes if they don't offer something redemptive. If it relishes in torture or gimmicks, he says, I'll just go read a book. My question for you guys is, do you agree with Father Dunn's top 5? Or would your Halloween horror list look completely different? Let us know your answers and what that top 5 might be in the comments ahead. And finally, if your anxiety has you sprawling, Florence Welch says, try horror movies. That's right. The lead singer of Florence and the Machine is dropping a new album this Halloween titled Everybody Screamed, inspired by folk horror, death, nature, and watching horror movies to relax. In a recent interview with KROQ, Welch said, people might find this strange, but I actually watch horror movies as a way to soothe anxiety. When my mind is racing and I can't stop the horror movie of my own thoughts, I put on a horror movie. The album arrives October 31st and follows her usual blend of fairy tale themes, this time much darker. Welch reportedly studied witchcraft and dived deep into horror culture to get into the creative zone. She's not alone either. Many horror fans report that the structure, catharsis, and predictability of horror can actually help regulate anxiety and emotional overload. My question for you guys is, do horror films help calm your nerves or make them the worse? Look, as a kid who grew up in Section 8 housing with a lot of violence, gang activity, and drug use all around me, horror movies was my number one escape. If I knew there was dread on the way, I didn't care too much about the dread I had to face every day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments ahead. Today's take: from spooky season ads to spiritual horror theory to pop star panic relief, today's stories prove that horror isn't just for jump scares. It's a mirror, a mood stabilizer, and sometimes a marketing tool. Whether it's Father Dune's Sacred Top 5 or Kiernan Shipka's Fighting Tech Demons, October just keeps delivering the goods. Make sure to answer today's Spotify poll. And if you got a horror tip, trailer, or exclusive, slide into our DMs at HMUNCUT, and you could be featured on an upcoming episode. That's it for today's episode of The Final Cut. As you can see, I'm trying to rework some things in the studio, but I'll get there hopefully by tomorrow. Be sure though to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your fear fix. And as always, you guys know the drill. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, keep the lights on.